Tonight's race brought to you in part by Windows Automatic Update. Where will you be when the updates hit? Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm Jesse Lee, still joined by Dan Van Zutphen with Ash Bibby back behind the cameras and safer now with those security updates fully taken care of. When we last left you, Benjamin Heilman led Jordan Daly. Mikhail Sundstrom has been able to get by Daly for that spot. Jersey Jaroslav Roth that was all the way back to 5th place. Oh, there's a big crash just as we've come back. There is a huge crash as the PSUK car has had an incident with Jaroslav Roth. What happened here? And they, that's a weird angle there as they come through Lodge, and that will take your pole sitter into the wall as they continue to free fall. Let's see if it's just a tighter turning circle. That's so hard to judge, isn't it, Dan?
Yeah, it is, but it's a classic case of the last corner because it has some elevation change. The car on the inside tends to have a little bit more understeer than a car on the outside, and that's basically what happens here coming out of Lodge corner. Roth had a bit more understeer.
He's gonna park it.
Yeah, he's gonna park it. Too much understeer, and I think it was the PSUK car just didn't really see it coming, and then you have a classic misjudgment of space incident. I think that's really a racing incident. No one's really at fault there. That's for the stewards to decide, but that's something that can happen at Oulton Park with the elevation change. Sad to see.
Really is. Benjamin Heilman continues to lead over Mikhail Sundstrom. Jordan Daly just set a personal best the last lap through, but still several tenths off of Mikhail Sundstrom's quick time as they're trying to run down Benjamin Heilman, who's looking like a driver that's putting up a huge championship threat right here. But it is Heilman, Sundstrom, Daly, the top three. Daly's on a little bit of a tear as of late. He's been racing incredibly well in a lot of the weekly series here. And Martin Lawrence, who's a couple cars behind him, has quietly worked his way inside the top 5. Martin Lawrence has dominated Mondays. I think they've had 4 races in a row where he's won in the Porsche Cup on Monday on ACC, and he's looking to continue that great work today with another brilliant sort of finish as long as they can make it to the end. You'll see on the scoring pylon, Dan, cars, you mentioned this earlier, flashing up with a little yellow square indicating that they're involved in some issues, but really, you pointed this out, that's just them running off the racetrack. We're not concerned about that, other than what we mentioned prior to going green tonight, that you get 17 incident points. Every time you touch grass here at Oulton Park, you're getting 1 incident point for doing that. And the frequency of some of these cars going off, even in a 30-minute race, that's looking a little scary right now.
It's looking a lot, and every time someone goes off, your heart rate spikes a bit up because maybe it is a true yellow flag. But it's not. As you say, it's just touching the grass, getting an off track. Harry Conway has a big yellow flag behind his name. Noticeable, he is on the wet tires. We have 3 drivers on the wet tire currently, which is very interesting. The highest wet tire driver is Adam Cheek, currently in P15, but with a 13.3 gap to the Dutchman driving. Here Kevin Bos, he's in P14. He was doing really well in Daytona, almost won the second race, which we didn't get to see the final lap, but we will get to see the final lap later here on stream today. But currently in P14 trailing Mead has had an incident earlier in this race. Going to be interesting for Kevin to see what he can do. Maybe he can climb up this race. We can see a battle for P10 cars driving in close proximity here. Leach, I think the faller back, he had an incident, of course, the PSUK car, and is now trailing. That is the Peppa Pig car of Valek.
Yeah, something of an expert leading this train right now, just trying to keep Ryan Leach behind them with Theobald Roscom in tow as well. I really like Roscom's car, and I'll tell you why. It's got a classic sort of look to it, but it's got the RCI blue logos on it. It just looks really nice. A lot of these cars look absolutely fantastic. Of course, you've got the expert Porker Mazda there. And also Felipe Brecha, who is inside the top 6 or something, has been celebrating the holidays all month long to this point. Some people will disagree. We have a debate behind the scenes every single week about that when the holidays actually start. And I think most of us in the booth here are in agreement that it doesn't start till somewhere around December the 1st at the very earliest. But don't tell that to Felipe Breccia out there getting it done with the Christmas lights livery. Mikael Sundstrom running Heilman down. It was 4.3 seconds the gap a lap and a half ago. It's down to 3.6 seconds, and if they continue that to narrow that gap down by that amount per lap, Sundstrom would get there. But is Jordan Daly the bigger threat to Mikael Sundstrom? They are neck and neck for P2 for the moment.
We know Jordan Daly. We do know the Swedish driver of Mikael Sundstrom. Jordan Daly tends to be somewhat aggressive in some races here and there, but Jordan Daly, the Bridgeman, is also a driver who knows they can catch.
Is he bump drafting him?
He's bump drafting Benjamin Hellman. They want to get to the leader, and you can see the gap coming down as they bump draft over the straight. It's 3.5 seconds, just touch 3.4 seconds. So it's definitely working. And I said, yes, Jordan Daly can be aggressive, but Jordan Daly also know how to play the safe game, knows to play when you need to fight and when you don't. And if they keep this up, Jesse, very good point, with 9 minutes remaining, they may or may not catch Benjamin Hellman, which is going to be very good for Mikael Sundstrom, because Mikael Sundstrom is definitely a championship contender here with Benjamin Hellman. So every point you can get from now on is going to be crucial, because we don't have many rounds left.
Yeah, I would almost say that Mikael Sundstrom needs to beat Heilman here, at least in one of these races, to solidify his championship threat in the last round of the series. Even if he just has a top 5 day in race 2, that's fine. But as long as he beats Heilman in this race, or in race number 2 for that matter, I think it would solidify that fight. But that's interesting, I think. Sundstrom and Daly working together. Now, they're friends off of the racetrack. In fact, the entire top 3 are friends off of the racetrack. But you know what happens when the visor comes down. You have no friends, and everybody's out for their own. But Daly bump drafting Mikael, not wanting to swoop. He could have very easily came out of Dearly, put a move down the inside as Mikael was not defending at all, and made the move into Old Hall. But he didn't do that, and he just bumped him down the straight and continued to gain time. Another lap, another 4 or 5 tenths taken out of Benjamin Heilman's lead. Now, if Daly is quicker than Sundstrom, Dan, why wouldn't he just pass Mikael and go up there and get Heilman himself? Why bring another competitor with you?
Well, if you're going to fight anyway, you're going to lose time, and you may not even catch the lead. So Jordan Daly is probably betting that at the end of the race, if they catch the guy in front, he can gain 2 positions instead of 1, which is of course better for Daly, and gain even more points than he already could by overtaking Mikael Sundstrom. Now keep in mind, Mikael Sundstrom isn't that slower than Jordan Daly, so he's going to stick around Jordan Daly as well if he would fight. And maybe attack and go on, so forth. And you just end up losing more and more time and risking not gaining a position at all. So by driving towards Benjamin Hellman, you're going to, yes, maybe risk not getting an overtake done, but you're also giving yourself the chance to get more overtakes done and scoring more points. So it's really a risk versus reward decision. But I think every race driver at the top knows that you have to help each other if you want to score good points, and it's no different here today.
So they're racing smart up there, is what you're saying. They're using their head. They're thinking with portals, if you will.
Yes.
Oh no! It's going to be a spin for Martin Lawrence. I think he just got too much of a curb, and he was too far to the inside. Yeah, he was, and he tries to switch back into Druids, and he does a Tokyo-style drift, somehow keeps it off of everybody else. Luca Filippi and Felipe Breccia goes through, Bardmacha goes through. So Martin Lawrence, who had driven up inside the top 5 and had just recently taken P4, Ralph Wiggum absolutely in danger, but somehow the 171 for Connection Lost Racing able to save it. And the only damage done are to the tires and a couple of positions lost. Well held by the Porsche Cup champion-elect.
Yeah, that was really well held, and a really rare save you don't see very often with these Mastercards, as Leach goes to the inside of Roscombe on at the exit of Cascades. Lovely move done very easily. I don't think Cascades has a bit of camber. It might have, which of course would make that move a little bit easier, but now into Island Bend, which is a fantastic corner. It probably is a fantastic corner in virtual racing, and probably even more in real life. There's in some cars, especially in GT3 cars, there's just so much risk involved going into Island Bend. Do you want to keep your foot pinned or not? Because I know in these Master you can keep your foot pinned on the gas pretty easily, but I digress. Beautiful move there by Leach, and see if we see more of these moves very soon. Now again, coming to your attention, the gap compared to the leader, it's not coming down that quickly again, 2.3 seconds, but Mikael Sundstrom did gain 5/10 on Benjamin Hellman last lap, but they really need to make a hurry because there's only 5 minutes left.
Yeah, it's not raining out there currently, but it is typical British weather. It's misting and it's dreary. The skies are completely gray over, and some of the cars have elected to take the wet weather tire, and they're not doing great in comparison to times.
No.
Most drivers are doing about 46s, 47s. The wet weather tires are doing 51s at the very best, and that hasn't helped them. So I don't know if maybe they're just experimenting to see it, or they were trying to be ahead of the curve in case the rains do come in. I know that a lot of the drivers, I thought that was going to be near contact there. It wasn't, as Felipe Brecha goes P4 in front of Luca Filippi that time through the Cascades. But I thought for a minute that it may rain at some point, and it may still at one point here. Keep in mind, still got an additional 30-minute race here where they're going to reverse the grid based on how they finish. That means that Jaroslav Roth will get a front row starting spot again. There were 22 cars that started, and if there's only 21 that take the green flag, then he'll be on pole, and at very worst, he'll be on outside pole P2. So no real bother for them there. That probably, based on the fact that Jersey probably reckons they can win one of these races, that might have been why they returned to garage, just hedging their bets of starting out front again, getting a mulligan or a do-over.
Well,
oh no, crash! Oh,
and
he's been hooked. Oh, I believe that Felipe Brecha, or Bart Macha actually, has hooked Luca Filippi coming out of, that's Knickerbrook indeed. And he just hooks him.
Well,
oh, huge crash!
It was huge netcode, I think. There's Joe Darber and Roscombe. Oh, there's a crash. Who's that? I think that's Ted Edwards. That must be Ted Edwards. Yeah, that must be Ted Edwards who collided with the. We have a race replay here. Ted Edwards going outside of Knickerbrook, and yeah, that's another race incident for Ted Edwards, which isn't very pleasant to see. But I start to think there was quite a bit of netcode involved there in that incident, at least in the first initial contact, which is a shame to see netcode still existing. What I pointed out in the last race, you do see normally, of course, the Master has a really streamlined front end. Here in these Masters, because you're bomb drafting so often, the front end do have some bumps and gets damaged a little bit, so that just now you then end up with a not so streamlined front end, which is very funny to see. And if you notice it, almost every Master has it here today, not only on Oulton Park, but of course in every race we've held so far, because well, bump drafting is a part of Master Cup racing. It happens in real life, it happens here in virtual racing too. You love to see it, but the front end of your car does get hit from time to time.
I'd like to thank all of you rejoining us after the Windows updates. Our PC's safe and secure here in the commentary position. And a big shout out to Les Stevenson, who has joined us as well. We hope that you are entertained this evening. And if you are watching us on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe to the RCI TV channel. We'll be back live with you on Monday for continuing coverage of the ACC Porsche Cup championship that Martin Lawrence has utterly dominated, but the racing has been fast and unpredictable, much like it has been here at iRacing Wednesdays with the Mazda MX5 Cup. And of course, if you are on Twitch, drop us a follow. Join us when we go live. Just a few minutes, 1 minute in fact, left in this race. Heilman has stepped on the gas a little bit. They were doing high 46s, low 47s, but they found the pace now and have been mirroring Sundstrom and Daly the last few laps, and that has halted a lot of Sundstrom and Daly's progress. It's been sitting at about 2 seconds the gap for the past several laps. Heilman looks like he's going to eke out this win here again and have another brilliant finish where he didn't start on the front row, Dan, but didn't have to, just came through the field, ran a clean race.
Yeah, I said it before, you know, if you're starting on third, you might have even a better chance of getting overtake or getting an overtake on the second place. Now, that wasn't the case at the start of the race, but Benjamin Heilman, nonetheless, just got through to P1. It's also, we haven't seen why Benjamin Heilman braked away so massively. I think before that time the stream was sadly cut out by the lovely Windows program, but now it's coming back. There must have some incident that must have happened in between that time, because building up a 4.7 second gap but then losing that gap almost, well, pretty quickly during this race is pretty questionable. So something must have happened. But what is going to happen, because the timer clocks 0, Benjamin Heilman through the last corner. I think this is the last lap. This will be the finish line for Benjamin Heilman. Yes, indeed, the checkered flag is being waved, and Benjamin Heilman wins the first race on Oulton Park. Trailed 1.4 seconds by Mikkel Sandstrom. Jordan Daly slots into third place. A valuable points for them. Philippe Breccia currently in P4. Martin Lorenk finishes in P5. Valek with the Pepper Big livery in P6. Roscam Leach in P7 and 8. Joy Darber will be in P9. And Rose slots out the top 10, Jesse.
Sure does. Everybody going to be cycling through. A lot of cars back here beaten and battered in race number 1. Mead, Bosch, Schmedberger, Adamczyk, Octane, Macho Roche, Luca Filippi, Conway, Edwards, and Roth, the 21 cars that are still here at the circuit. Roth will either be on pole or outside pole, depending on how you see it. Everybody now, these cars certainly were involved in an incident, spent considerable time in pit lane. Don't go anywhere. We got a special presentation here while the drivers regroup for race number 2. We're going to show you the finish from race 2 at Daytona. Production difficulties a week ago kept us from showing you full live images of the chaotic finish of race 2 at Daytona, but we have the footage and we will show it to you in the interim as soon as everyone crosses the line here. Benjamin Heilman, Dan, though, while we wait for the cars to finish, has shown time and time again they're not the strongest qualifier, are they? They don't start on the front row all the time, but it doesn't matter. They get it done. They're patient. They make up spots when they need to, and they get these wins. When everybody else falls by the wayside and gets caught fighting over each other, Heilman always seems to be in the right position at the right time. Just a mark of a great race car driver.
We've seen it at Daytona as well when he needed to come from the back. And yes, the German is very patient and a very good racing driver. I think he drives a lot of endurance racing as well. It wouldn't surprise me, because that's a skill you need to handle traffic, to be patient with the cars you're going to overtake, when you're going to overtake. And Benjamin Heilman, like you said, possesses that skill beautifully. So does Mikkel Sandstrom. He showed it at Daytona time and time again in the first race and the second race. But I think Benjamin Heilman, if my mind recalls it correctly, he got the better out of Mikkel Sandstrom, if I'm correct. But yeah, beautiful racing by both championship competitors. This time Benjamin Heilman came out on top. See if it's different next race.
Well, as we wait for the racers to take the grid for race number 2 today, let's show you what happened at the conclusion of race number 2 at Daytona a week ago. This is starting off, coming to get the white flag last lap. The white car, the 31 of Kevin Boss. The inside is going to have Raphael Huell in the middle there. The lead car, that's Tom Bryant. Last lap of the race, down into turn number 1, the 22, able to get out in front. Boss hanging tough on the outside, and the 191 hanging on for dear life. And that you don't even see Ted Edwards in this picture yet, but they will become a huge factor in this later on down the lap. Now into the horseshoe. Kevin Boss goes back to the lead. 3 wide back behind him, the Arizona T car, making it 2 wide, 2 rows deep as they come through the dogleg, Dan.
As they come through the dog leg, indeed. Now into the second horseshoe. Kevin Boss still on the inside. He gets on the grass there and then shoots out of the second horseshoe. Now still battling P1, and Ted Edwards isn't even in our screen yet, and as you said, Jesse, he's going to play a very important role at the end of the race. Now, coming into the bus stop, or not coming into this first really big banked corner, and as you can see, Kevin Boss not having the toe there, and I think that is
Dozal nowhere near him. Getting a push, Raphael Huell on Tom Bryant, but no help to the outside for the Dutch driver. 4 lined up. Here's Ted Edwards, the red car in the back, going to the inside, 3 wide. Wow. Dozal's going to push Kevin Boss to the outside. Who does Tom Bryant block? He doesn't block anybody. Ted Edwards goes in there, goes a little deep. Contact with Kevin Boss. Boss goes off of the racetrack, comes back on. Dozal into the 31 of Kevin Boss as they continue to bleed positions. It's going to be calamity. The 9 down on the inside. Dozal makes contact with Boss. Boss goes spinning off of the racetrack. The huge accident behind them, and that's going to be it for Kevin Boss. He was leading coming to the white flag, but he won't be here. It's a bump. It's a really nice run. Not taking it is the race Ventura car of Ted Edwards. Huell looking to the outside, doesn't have any help. Here comes the Miazda, but they have time. A bump draft perhaps. No, he's going to go at it on his own around the outside. Bump drafting friends on the inside. Tom Bryant leads it, and he wins it in the ugliest car in the grid, and that is as close and as crazy as it possibly could have been. All of that happening 1 week ago. Ted Edwards with the Teammate of the Year award, helping Tom Bryant win that race. We have it on good authority, Dan. Ted Edwards told Tom Bryant in confidence, "You are winning this race," and they delivered.
You are winning this. That's a Teammate of the Year as well. And I think now we've done this little intermezzo. We should do this more often. Just in the pause, let us see some highlights. What happened last week? Perfect. But yeah, that was a crazy race at Daytona. Race 1 was crazy. Race 2 was almost just as crazy. I mentioned it earlier. Kevin Boss did really well at Daytona, but then had a really unlucky end to his race. Also took someone out, which is very unfortunate, but that's Daytona racing as well. And see if we might get such a finish here at Oulton Park as well. But indeed, that Daytona race, that second Daytona race, was breathtaking, and Ted Edwards, definitely Teammate of the Year here at RCI.
Speaking of Teammate of the Year, helping us out in the broadcast department does Ted Edwards. That replay brought to you by Ted Edwards and Race Ventura. Wouldn't have been possible without Race Ventura and Ted Edwards. So thank you very, very much for your help with bringing us that last lap, a chaotic last lap that ended in a spill for the Dutch driver, but absolute elation for Tom Bryant, who has won a race. And all week, I will say, anytime I've talked about Tom Bryant or to Tom Bryant, it's been more of, hey, that's a race winner now. He's won a race against the best of them, and just incredible. And he came in, gave a post-race interview, said that I couldn't have won that without Ted. Ted helped me. Ted's the reason I won that race. And in fact, just an absolute brilliant job of teamwork between the two of them. Getting the cars on the grid for race number 2. That is the grid, but we don't start on the grid here because we have an abbreviated pace lap. They will start on the back straight. So, Dan, my question to you is, race 2, Oulton Park, how does Jersey keep from losing positions here? Because race number 1, he got shuffled back, got into trouble. How do we avoid that here today as it is now raining here in Cheshire, England?
I was just about to mention, have you seen the the rain, Jesse? It's going to be a factor which everyone needs to consider. I think everyone is going to start on the wets because, well, running on the dries while it rains may be good for the beginning, but in the end, it will be near impossible to drive on the slicks. How are you going to drive a better race, Jesse? To come back on your question, it's going to be very different. It's going to be very different here because it's not dry, so you can't take every line to get a overtake in. You now need to stay on the wet line. Presumably, maybe it's still dry enough to go on the dry line or go on the wet line. Just take different lines, but Jaroslav Rov can use this rain to his advantage. He can sort of, with his car, his body language, he can just, go a little bit more wide in between the track limits and be a bit more defensive, because you can do that in the rain. You can be a bit more defensive because other drivers can't take as much as risk as they did in the and we have an amazing start of Loring there, and it will all kick off into T1 here.
Oh, he's going to get wrecked. Oh, he's going to save it. The rebound cars make contact with each other, but a huge jump there, and he may just about benefit from it. That's Martin Lawrence, 3 wide PSUK, trying to go up the inside. Rebound Racing, one of their cars able to get it. More contact between the 19 and the 171 as they get it just about sorted as they go down into the Cascades for the first time. Everybody on top of each other. Oh, and it's a big crash. Oh, and it's a big one as more cars pile in. I was going to mention that the drivers mentioned to me that in the wet weather conditions, the first couple laps, this track's lethal. Martin Lawrence's great start will be to no avail. I don't know where that started, but the one car involved heavily early on with one of the SJ and H automobiles. I believe that's Harry Conway, and that's indeed where it starts. It all kicks off with Peter Roche and Harry Conway, and they make a temporary parking lot exiting the Cascades.
Martin Lawrence already had a wiggly start at the straight, and it's got even worse for him coming in or coming out of Cascades. And you can see the effect of the rain now. You can see the trails of rain escaping the tires here, and it's going to be well, it was already difficult, and you can see it in Cascades. You can't just go in the rain. You can't just go side by side through every corner. You will maybe have a little bit more understeer. You will maybe have a little bit more oversteer, and that's how incidents happen. It's very easy here at Oulton Park, and as you say, Jesse, in the rain it's even more lethal. But the top 3 did get away. No incidents happened. I think for Rov, none happened for Daly. We are seeing a PSUK esports car here. See if Jordan Daly maybe can overtake Rov. Rov has stayed in the lead here in this first lap this time, but can he escape Jordan Daly? Again, we know this is a big crash. I think here we have a not so streamlined front end of the 727 going off the track here, probably just to go into pit lane. Who knows? I think he just
needed a little bit more turning radius. Is what he needed on that car. He just is taking everything. That's Martin Adamczyk as they're trying to drive that car back to the pit lane. Completely destroyed the 74 here. Is going to loop it, and that's to the point that I was making. Christopher Rowe disappearing around the corner. Ted Edwards told me in confidence prior to today's race that it's just lethal out there. The first couple of laps, there's absolutely no grip, and especially into Druids, you don't really know where the puddles are going to be, and it is impossible to see. And it does get better, I was told. A couple laps, the track does get better. You get used to it. Some of the drivers said as well, but the opening couple laps have certainly claimed a significant portion of the field. Runners inside the top 10 and outside the top 10, as now they're not racing each other as much as they're racing the current weather conditions. The windscreen wipers absolutely required at this point. Everybody trying their best just to keep it on the island.
I accidentally said Jesse, and it's not. This is not a track like Spa where you have to take different lines. Oulton Park, I just spoke about different lines. I think that Edwards trying a move on the 96 car. That Edwards is the Roscom. Thank you, Jesse. That Edwards does make the move on Fibat Roscom, and he is through into a higher position. But I just talked about different lines. As we see a race replay here, this is Kevin Bos, Mikkel Sandstrom and Benjamin Hellman.
Oh my goodness!
Mikkel Sandstrom, a championship contender, is off and possibly out of this race.
That might be his championship done and dusted. Contact with Kevin Bos and Mikkel Sundstrom off into the barriers. I think that, at least I believe that was in Lodge. The angles, sometimes the camera angles bother me just a little bit, but it's a huge trip into the wall. It was a short trip, all things considered, but that's going to be day done for the 899. And more importantly, that might be championship forfeited here, especially if Benjamin Heilman will continue to do what they've done all season, and that's gain positions. Heilman currently in 12th, though, has a long way to go to continue to get back up there. Kevin Bos has had it off in Shell Oil's corner, I do believe.
I think he does indeed, Kevin Bos. We do have a replay now of Kevin Bos and going into Shell Oil's corner. Does he have enough? Yes, the back, loses it. Back goes around on himself, ends up on the grass banking, and on he goes. But he certainly has lost some positions. Macha overtook him, the number 5 master, and now he's trying to make his way back up into the field, maybe even into the top 10 places. Who knows? It's raining here at Oulton Park. Everything can happen. Luca Filippi now in 3rd place. That Edwards currently in 2nd place. That Edwards really finding the groove here in the rain. I confused that Edwards with Jordan Daly. I think that's that Edwards going off there. Oh, I commentator's cursed it. I'm so sorry, Edwards. But he's going down into the order. Benjamin Alman had a yellow flag behind his name. That Edwards outbraked himself. The rear just goes on him, and position he will lose. And that's a shame for that Edwards. I'm afraid I cursed him, Jesse, there.
Maybe, but I like what Luca Filippi did. He was following in his tire marks right there, just kind of hit the brakes and just had, all he could do was allow Ted Edwards to dictate where the car is going to go. Filippi able to scoot around the outside once he realized that Edwards was going to spin to the inside of the racetrack there, and that allowed all of them to get through. What about Billy Octane up here in the top 5, fighting off the Farby girl machine, Fabian Schmedberger, and trying to do their best, but now Fabs up into the top 3. It's Roth, Filippi, Schmedberger, as it's going to be Octane, Dauber, the top 5. Daly, Valak, Roscom, Heilman inside the top 10 now with Mead. Philippe Breccia has fallen off. I was trying to figure out what car was the one that had fallen off. This is a Damchick, though, as they're going to get a little bit too much throttle on a wet racetrack with puddles surely. And that was a huge slide, but this is what I was interested in. Philippe Breccia has some sort of issue here, and they just ran over the back. They ran over the back of Billy Octane, and immediate dead stop into the wall.
Not so festive this time for Philippe Breccia. His car sort of retires, well, not retires, just escapes into pit lane when he hit the wall. Repairs will be needed, towing will be needed, and that's your day over for Philippe Breccia. Joe Dauber now trying to overtake Billy Octane. That is on the inside. Will he take the inside? Will he go for it? No, because he needs to defend off Jordan Daly. Jordan Daly started at the back of the field, now on the outside.
Oh, big slide!
Big slide, but he saves it. Is it?
Oh, no!
Contact between Joe Dauber and Jordan Daly, and they're in the wall.
Oh my goodness, what went wrong there? I think it illustrated what was going on from the bumper cam, but just what happened. Daly not allowing Dauber back in line. Dauber thinking he was clear for whatever reason, and they just both take a trip into the wall. We've seen that time and time again. Dauber into the pit lane, Jordan Daly into the pit lane, and that'll be the end of both of their runs, as that will further promote some of these other cars. Valak in the top 5. Roscom, Heilman up to 7th. Mead, Macha, Ted Edwards inside the top 10. Didn't Ted Edwards spin a few laps ago? And he's back in the top 10, Dan.
Again, Ted Edwards really finding that groove in the rain. I'm surprised. He's probably one of the fastest.
Octane! Octane.
That's Octane.
He locked it up, I think.
I think he did, Jesse, into Shell's corner, Shell's OS corner, and just goes right, possibly locked it up, and then you're onto the banking. No, slide, yeah. And then you're onto the banking, and there's no way of stopping your heading to the grass, and Billy Octane losing it there. Could have ended a lot worse. Billy Octane so far running in P7. Christopher Rowe in the number 74, just spinning on his own there. I think that's a very dangerous place to spin, but gets on the grass and gets on going again. Doesn't lose a position. This is Harry Conway. He had an incident.
Trying to get down
and
to the pits,
yeah, trying to get down. The same, I think almost the same happened, and Harry Conway. Another replay here. Yeah.
Visibility for Conway could not have been good. Rose just having a struggle. I don't know if it's the tires on the car or if there's some sort of suspension damage that we can't see, but that car is all over the place, and they are struggling quite a lot here. Race for the lead. Luca Filippi on Jaroslav Roth. Roth and Filippi neck and neck as they cross the line. Filippi actually led that lap, and he's going to have the inside for PSUK Esports. And will he maintain the racetrack? Yes, he will. I thought he might have been a little bit deep, but not deep enough in Old Hall. New leader of the race, Luca Filippi for PSUK.
Coming into Cascades there, C1 Driver. Oh, he's going wide. Is he going to wide? Will that be costly, or is that a different line? Is that a wet line, as we would say? Or did he lose time? I think he did lose time, so that was not intentional going wide there. Will Roth really going to do it inside Island Bend?
Roscom just left the racetrack. I'm sorry, I saw him go off in the background. About Roscom, I think, just left the racetrack in Cascades like they were doing the Foster's circuit. He got crashed into, I'm being told. Sorry, Dan.
Oh, amazing he recovered, because if you would do that in Assetto Corsa Competizione, you'd be off in the barrier. Yeah, indeed.
He just left.
Yeah, Thibaut Roscom losing the rear in the wet. It's just so difficult, that Master MX5. We see it with the elevation changes. We see a race replay of Jordan Daly also losing the rear coming out of Cascades. And these masters, it's a difficult task here in the rain, and a driver from every caliber is showing it. Christopher Rowe, almost identical incident, almost identical spin he had last time. The number 74 isn't really enjoying that last corner, and it probably has to do with the elevation change. But on we go. I digress. Valek in the Pepper Pack livery, trying to get that P3 of Fabian Schmidberger, the German driver in the number 648 car, trying to keep that P3 as they all struggle with that rear end, Jesse, into the last corner.
I'll just tell you this, if you are a driver in today's race and you have found the conditions difficult, you can send your feedback care of Tom Bryant here at RCI. As he's the one that set this up. Fabian Schmidberger getting all sorts of loose there through Old Hall. Down the inside will go Valek, looking to put Peppa Pig onto the podium again this season. He will be on the wrong side of the racetrack for Cascades, has to fall back in line, but maybe will have a better run as long as they stay on the racetrack, and they do, but nothing doing. Clearly out in front of Schmidberger with a gap as we go through Lakeside and Island Bend this time. They will reset from none and have to do it again, and somewhere Roth has gotten by Luca Filippi and retaken the lead again. So the top two trading blows, trading the lead, but the 288 of Roth back out in front of this field.
This is crucial for the championship here, that Jaroslav Roth can win this race, and will win this race, purely because Benjamin Hellman currently in P5. Now he's doing good lap times, but it's still slower than everyone ahead of him. That may change in the upcoming laps, but currently he will not gain any more positions. He may even lose a position to Billy Octane. So Benjamin Hellman needs to, keep his foot down and see if he can do some better lap times here in the rainy Oulton Park. Kevin Boss. And as we see a race replay, that Edwards, I just saw an incident, yes, into the last corner he goes as well, outbrakes himself, around goes the rear end, and that's a spin for Ted Edwards. Do we have an incident here for P3 Schmidberger and Valek? Yes, we do have an incident. The gap is dropping to the leaders in this race, but I think the incident was somehow synced, because they haven't, maybe it's an off track. I hear we have a race replay here here at the Farby against Peppa Pig, Fabian Smith.
Oh, he went deep!
But he went very deep, and there's contact, and that is a sick incident, Jesse.
Yeah, I thought for a second it was a bit bigger than that. Just both drivers holding on to it, but Schmedberger down the inside outbroke themselves a little bit. Contact with Valek, and somehow they both save it. They lost time, sure, but they're still in this race. Valek will take over P3 over Schmedberger, has fallen down to 7th. That will promote Benjamin Heilman from outside the top 10 again. I feel like a broken record. I say it every single week, but Heilman up inside the top 5, and he is looking absolutely stellar now for a podium. A win and a podium, it doesn't really get much better than that. Roth still leads Filippi, has a little bit of a gap, the biggest of the race thus far as we near the halfway point. 1.5 seconds between first and second. The battle for third well and truly on. Valek has it with Peppa Pig, but the Speed Salad 796 with Heilman and the Speed Juice 33 of Billy Octane all fighting for a podium spot. Remember when Octane was fighting for a podium spot a few laps ago and went off in Shell Oil's corner? Now they're back again and they've got a second shot. That driver has 9 lives from Estonia.
Yeah, indeed he has, and this wet race is getting crazier and crazier. The question is, can Benjamin Heilman keep up this pace as we have yellow flags? That's just an off-track row again, losing the back end again into the wall, needing probably to repair that Mazda MX5 yet again. Coming back to live feed here for you now. Has Benjamin Heilman just been overtaken by Billy Octane? Yes, he has. I was just speaking about he needing to keep up this pace and needing to keep Billy Octane behind him, but it's too late. He's already fallen back to P5.
Drama never over here. Billy Octane up to 4th. Heilman loses a position, so the SJ&H cars swap positions for the time being, but will they re-swap back knowing what's on stake for Heilman versus Octane in the championship? I think it might be to the outside. No defense from Octane, and Heilman will go back through. You may ask yourself, Dan, what is Speed Salad? Well, it's Speed Juice, but it's a salad. Back to you, Dan.
Oh, that's very informative. Thank you for that lovely information, Joey Dauber here driving the Mazda MX-5 again, losing the rear.
Racing.
Yeah, 360, almost a 360. We've seen it times and times again here, losing the rear end of that Mazda MX-5 in the wet. It's sensitive. This is
Kevin
the Dutchman
Boss.
Kevin Boss, who's familiar with wet racing because he's Dutch.
My goodness.
But hitting the wall? Yes, he doesn't hit the wall, but it's an incident nonetheless for Kevin Boss. Again, losing a lot of time there. Still in P13. Battle for P1 and P2 still going on. Fabian Smidberger has fallen back after the incident. He overshot the corner after the incident with, I think it was Valek. Yeah, I think it was indeed Valek, and but still currently trailing behind Bart Macha. Maybe Fabian Smidberger, the German, can move up some positions again.
Hopefully they can. It is so incredible to see so many of these drivers that we know are just almost like robotic-like consistency in the normal sort of racing conditions. But here at Oulton Park in this wet weather, it is bringing out some of the flaws and the faults in a lot of racing lines. And I think it's just how tricky it is because you're trying to, the tires can sort of take it to the point where you get to the limit of grip, but there's no give. If you exceed that limit, you're going around. There's no saving it. I think Billy Octane's the only driver we've seen today who's got themselves into trouble and has actually sort of kept the car going. I mean, other than Martin Lawrence whenever he was tapped, but by themselves, everybody else goes around. Billy Octane in that one instance was able to save the car, but Roth leads Filippi. Filippi coming back to Roth a little bit for the lead. Joe Dolber around the outside. Tokyo Drift, he saves it, or does he? No, he doesn't. He makes contact with the one car of Peter Roche, but the only casualty is rebounds Joe Dolber, and they have towed the car. Kevin Boss, who was once inside the top 10, has now had a second incident, and this one might be more severe, and it is Crunch, iRacing crash test vehicle. Follow him over at Crashneck on Twitch, where he doesn't do a lot of crashing, admittedly, but today, a completely different story.
Dutchman who's normally used to the rain, given I'm a Dutchman myself, and I can tell you it does rain pretty often here in the Netherlands, but it doesn't work for Kevin Bos this time around. Mead currently in P6. Now to come back at you, that it's a tricky circuit. It's really, I've driven here in the rain before in a Toyota and a Mazda MX5. It's really a one-line racetrack, Oulton Park is. You don't really use a lot of different racing lines like a track as Spa, like a track as Silverstone that you normally would. This is really racing wet on the dry line, which is something you don't normally see, but because it's such a narrow track, you can't take a lot of off tracks. It's just a one line racetrack really, and you know, you have to have some rain knowledge to know this, because some drivers would maybe try and take alternative lines on the outside, but if you try and do that, a lot of corners here have camber or have a little bit of banking on the corners, which is not going to help in the rain. If you're going to be off the banking, you're just going to run wide, possibly into the barriers, as Billy Octane just overtook Benjamin Hellman into the last corner. That's very interesting. Mead is catching them up, which is also very interesting. So this might be a three-way battle for P4 here very, very soon.
It may well do. Something's happened to Luca Filippi. He was within a second of Roth, and now it's 2.3 seconds the gap, and they are nowhere near each other, as Roth may have absolutely played this perfectly here by parking the car early after their exit from race number 1 to take pole position back and get a cleaner run at it. He's certainly looking like he may be on to win it. Got 10 minutes to go, and if there's one thing I know about this race, anything is possible. So let's not hand it to Jersey just yet. Filippi off of the racetrack briefly. Billy Octane a bit more off track than Luca Filippi was just now. He's going to lose a couple of spots. Heilman goes through. Mead goes through. Back to 6th place again goes Billy Octane. That will release Heilman into 4th place, who has a 4-second gap to get to Valak in the podium, who is all by themselves now in the Peppa Pig machine.
This was not what Billy Octane wanted. He wanted to keep that before of Benjamin Hellman, yet he is now in P6. Billy Octane is a fast driver in the wet. We've seen it time and time again here. We've seen him overtake Benjamin Hellman. We've seen Benjamin Hellman overtake Billy Octane. I reckon Billy Octane will be back. This may put a curse on him like I did with that Edwards. I hope I didn't. I'm sorry if I do, but that's just my job, perhaps. Back to P2 here in this race. Luca Filippi again fell back a little bit, especially during this lap. Lost 6/10 as Rolf just got on off track. You know, your heart rate always spikes a little bit when you see the yellow flag. Oh, I did curse Billy Octane. P8 currently, the number 33.
What's going on with you today, Dan?
I'm not doing it on purpose, I promise. Billy Octane just having a little bit of an incident. I reckon he just spun off. No, he goes into pit lane. Does he have damage from P8 into the pit lane? Now that's very interesting, Jesse.
That is very interesting. I can't imagine why you need to pit in a 30-minute race. I don't know if there's something wrong with that car. Maybe the tires are too upset, but he misses his pit box and he was backing up into it. Now, is that a retirement? Is that what he meant to do? But it would be weird to retire from a top 10 position where you could still gain some ground and maybe some more spots to begin with. So something amiss there on the Speed Juice Billy Octane car there as they went into the pit lane. Christopher Rose joined us from the Twitch chat. Hello from the 74 Garage. First wreck of the season. Somewhat expected considering the weather. And yeah, I would, Ash, I will pay you to see an in-car view from Harry Conway's point of view. I gotta know how much he can see.
Oh.
Yeah, not much. It's well, it's a great way to get the branding on television, but it's not a great way to see what you're doing out there. Luckily, it's an open top, and you could stick your head out the window. I kid, of course. You're restrained by a 5-point. You can't see out of it. But he's somehow driving around, and I have seen iRacers do this before. I've also done this before. You pop it in hood cam or in third person or whatever it is, and you just deal with it.
It's you can certainly switch cameras here in iRacing, but it's a great way to train muscle memory here at Oulton Park. So maybe when we see Harry Conway next time, he knows all the little tricks, as Rolf had quite a long yellow flag behind his name, loses 2 tenths,
Oh,
probably had a knock
sorry, I
as
thought I was
well.
going to lose it there.
That Edwards has lost it though, a yellow flag behind his name, and Sundstrom is gaining on Ted Edwards. Ted Edwards, what has he done this time? Another spin, another losing the
Oh,
rear.
boy.
Yes, that is a that is a loss of rear traction for Ted Edwards out of Druid. It's not really has been that Edwards race. He has done really well at the beginning, but the end and the mid part for him hasn't been very fortunate here at Oulton Park. He's still in P10. Michael Sundstrom, he has had an incident at the very start of this race with the Dutchman of Kevin Bos. This is crucial. Maybe Michael Sundstrom can sort of save his championship by getting into the top 10. I don't have the standings here next to me, so we'll have to guess on that. Peter Roche in the Sparko #1 car, also trying to gain some positions. He's 1.1 second of Harry Conway, and Harry Conway, of course, doesn't see much, so we might see a battle of P12 very soon again, Jesse.
Ro's absolutely right. You're right too, Dan. You can't change the camera in iRacing. That's correct, but you can change your seat position. Is misremembering the old days back then, but yeah, you can definitely change it. I've never tried to stand up in VR. Usually in VR, I don't know how it works in iRacing, but usually I'm locked into position in VR, so it's sort of the perspective goes with me when I move. But that also would be incredibly beneficial. So I actually don't know how he's doing it. Maybe he has done it. Well, he's not going to be doing anything right now because he's been spun around. Peter Roche coming through, a little bit of contact. Was it a little bit wide there by Conway? Maybe. Hard to tell, but either way, the 28 Speed Juice car goes around, crumpled, hood in all.
Crash with Michael Sundstrom.
Oh,
and
another one.
Another one. I think that's coming into... Snickerbrook, Ted Edwards, I think, turning in.
Is that the second time Ted and Mikhail have had contact today?
I have no... Yeah, that is indeed Ted Edwards turning a bit too early into the car, into the side of Michael Sundstrom, and Michael Sundstrom will not be pleased by that. He's 1 second behind Ted Edwards. I think he's going to receive that position back. Maybe this straight, yes, indeed, Michael Sundstrom will receive that position back from Ted Edwards, and so Michael Sundstrom slots into P10. But that's a lot of incidents for Michael Sundstrom as well for Ted Edwards. Ted Edwards with a not so streamlined backhand of that car, going back to live footage. But Macha is trying to overtake Mead for the last spot into the top 5.
Yeah, top 5 spot is going to be a big ask here, but Macha seems to have a little bit of a pace advantage over Mead for that, and we'll see if they continue. Benjamin Heilman has made some inroads. It was 4 seconds the gap to Valak for third. It's down to 3.3, but not nearly enough inroad to actually do anything about it. In fact, Mead and Macha have stuck exactly with Benjamin Heilman. Roth continues to have a 3-second lead out in front. No worries, no drama there between all of those drivers, but it is a 3-way fight for P4 effectively. Macha might just see if Mead can catch him, but the sand in the hourglass is ticking down. Less than 3 minutes. He's got to get a move on. Macha down to the inside this time as we head into Lodge. We've seen this go wrong multiple times today, but nice and tidy by Bard Macha up the inside and clear of James Mead up into 5th place. Will try and chase down the Speed Salad car for 4th here late, but the crossover from Mead looking around the outside. Nope, not quite close enough as they go into Old Hall this time and has to fall back in line. Can Macha catch Heilman? And what will Heilman do if he gets there? Will he let him go or will he race him knowing what's on the line here? If Heilman ends up getting crashed out and having to go back to pit lane, this might be all for naught here today, but if Heilman finishes inside the top 5, Benjamin starts to look like your champion-elect here with 2 races left to go next week.
Oh, most definitely. But, you know, it's going to be very interesting Then we'll see if it's a very big if Bart Maciek can catch Benjamin Hellman. We have an incident here. Peter Roche coming out
just
of
too much
Knickerbrook.
speed.
Yep. Losing the rear end again, too much speed, losing traction on the rear end, and around goes your Mazda MX5, which is again very sensitive. I think we've said it 100 times, but the rear is very sensitive here in the wet at Oulton Park. So look at it's 17 degrees. Wet, it's cold, again it's wet, which doesn't help the traction. Kevin Bos is out on track, not with a very streamlined front end. He's currently driving in P15. Dutchman trying to resume his way after some incidents. Kevin Bos is now coming out of the last corner, doesn't lose it this time, and so he proceeds to go another lap. Billy Octane has fallen back quite a bit, Jesse. Have we? I can't remember him falling this much back.
Well, he was in the pit lane, you'll remember, and he missed his pit box. And had to back up into. So that all has led to this, and the white flag, that doesn't mean there's a stranded car. That means in iRacing there is 1 lap left to go, and the Mazda in the lead of the race has got some back marker traffic to deal with. Shouldn't be too much of a bother, and for a guy who started on the pole position at Jersey, who did not get to stay up there for very long and ended up in the garage, they have somehow converted this into a win they must have thought was on the cards, and they've done it in the worst conditions we've seen all season long. Jersey's looking like they're going to get it done and benefit from that reverse grid, getting a win here today in the Mazda.
Indeed, and I just want to point out, we did see Billy Octane heading into the pits, and this is a topic we've touched on before, but because 17 incident points, did he maybe get a drive-through? Because of that incident, maybe, who knows? I like to think it, because there's really no reason otherwise you would go into pit lane. We have the incident points. No one has yet. Billy Octane has 20 points behind.
You nailed it, Dan.
Incident points, yeah. Lucky me. So yeah, that can happen in iRacing, and it's definitely a thing in iRacing, and yeah, something to keep a sharp eye on. And if you get past that 17 incident points, you just get a drive through. That is the way it is. As a matter of fact, here today, Rolf is steaming towards the win here at Oulton Park. There's a battle here for the P4 spot. Benjamin Hellman on the outside, which will now turn to the inside in the wet. Benjamin Hellman needs to be very careful. Mathieu is off, had a little bit of oversteer, and there goes his chance for a P4. That means Benjamin Hellman will probably end up P4, and I think Rolf has finished the race. Almost finished the race.
Jaroslav Roth has done it. He's come back from starting or finishing in the garage in race number 1. He's won it in the Mazda. It's something of a German and Czech takeover of RCI as they're dominating all the championships. Luca Filippi P2, Valek a solid P3. Heilman will hold off for 4th. Bart Macha 5th. Mead, Leach, Schmedberger, Roscom, Sundstrom, the top 10, as they will all come across the line, nearly everybody behind them having very significant dramas today. And what a day it has been for Ted Edwards, who's been all over the place.
Yeah.
The back of that car, that's not what it came like from the factory. I can guarantee you that if you're looking to buy a new MX5 this holiday season. That's not what they're supposed to look like. But he's going to get a little drift. He did that on purpose. That's a little drift. That's for the fans. That's for the ladies back home.
Yeah, it is indeed. I mean, again, that back end doesn't look so swiftly. Will he pull out another drift for the ladies? He doesn't here in the last turn, but he will finish either way in P11. Ted Edwards will taking the checkered flag before Peter Roche in P12. He's 31.4 seconds back. He's the last of the finishes as well. Ted Edwards is absolutely done with it, smashing his car into the wall. Maybe
I don't
right
think we need a driver's interview to figure out how that driver feels. I think we kind of already know.
probably would be wise not to, but Peter Bosch maybe feels the same way. His backhand just seems a lot smoother than the backhand of that Edwards. Peter Bosch, the number 1 car, finishes in P12, and that is the last of all the drivers of all the cars that need to finish here. Peter Bosch finishes off the field in P12, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is our second race, first wet race, second race here at Oulton Park done.
Everybody collectively breathe as we have made it through round number 4. Of course, we will be back live with you next week, same time, same place for the finale. 2 30-minute races left to go. Laguna Seca in the sort of Napa Valley area of California. Not in the middle of a desert, not surrounded by sand, a very fertile and rich farming valley. But we will be at Laguna Seca, where they will take the Mazdas down the corkscrew. They may even be 2 and 3 wide down the corkscrew. I've seen them do it before on iRacing. Will the drivers be brave enough to do exactly that? Just trying to wrangle some driver interviews, perhaps to end the day today. But while we have a moment, a big thank you for all of you for watching at home. We thank you so much. And we only ask that you like and subscribe or follow if you're over on Twitch on your way out. A big thank you to our partners that bring this race and every race to you. AK Esports, for more on how they can help you with your esports solutions. AKEsports.it. If you need a setup for Monday in the Porsche Cup, Go Setups. We recommend them, and a lot of the top drivers are using Go Setups and have been all season long. Check them out, GoSetups.com. Moser Racing is a leader in direct drive racing technology that doesn't break the bank. If you're looking for a replacement wheel set or an entire wheel and pedal set, check out Moser Racing, top of the line, that doesn't break the bank. And a shout out to Motorsport UK. We're a recommended community for Motorsport UK Esports series. Let's see if we have interviews. I think we do. We have
Benjamin Heilman.
I've lost where I am. We have Benjamin Heilman, winner of race number 1. It's never easy for you, is it, Stewie? We call him Stewie around here, by the way. He's our backbone for broadcasting, but it's never easy for you. You don't get to go out there, get pole position, or run away from the field. You're always coming from like 4th or 5th. You're fighting through it. You're avoiding accidents. Same could be said today in race number 1. Talk us through it.
I mean, in race number 1, it was a bit lucky that Jersey made one mistake and then basically lost all the positions, and then the people behind me were fighting because Mikael was definitely quicker than me. I don't know if I just over-pushed the car at the start or whatever, but I didn't have any pace, so I was just a bit lucky that I could keep the pace. And yeah, I don't know, race 2, I felt like I died every single lap. That was the most difficult driving I ever had to do in iRacing. And I did not feel confident at all. I'm lucky I survived.
Well, that's very interesting that you weren't confident at all. I got to ask, another win. I mean, it's looking really good for you. I mean, what has made you so potent this season?
I don't know. I'm a bit surprised as well, because in the first race, what is it called? Heat. Like the first race of the first race was shit. Then the second one I won. The first race of the second race was shit. The second one I won. Then last week, I think I was 4th or something in the first race. And the second race, I got collected by an accident in the last corner. So yeah, I'm a bit surprised that I'm still that high up in the standings. I don't know how it's looking after today, but I feel like other people have been doing well more consistently.
Well, hopefully you can keep it going. We think you might be on the hook for the championship right now. I'm unsure. But Dan, do you have anything for our race 1 winner?
Going into the final round, because we are, do you feel confident you will clinch the championship, even though you might not know if you're in that position? How high are the hopes? How high is the confidence?
I'm not hoping for anything. There's so many quick drivers that are basically the same pace, maybe a few tenths difference. And then you have these situations where 2 people are fighting and anybody could die at any moment. So it's really just go in, do the best, and see what comes out of it. I have no hope so far.
One
Well,
more
Stewie-
question.
Oh, go ahead then.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Because Jesse and me talked about it this race, especially in Daytona. You seem a driver who's very calm and collected and knows how to get his way through traffic. Is this something you see as well?
Usually, yeah. Although I did make a few stupid mistakes in this champ already. But yeah, generally I would say I'm a pretty calm driver.
All right, there you go.
Stewie, any team you want to shout out?
Just all the guys I'm racing with in the voice from SJH, and yeah, to you guys, obviously. Doing the iRacing broadcasts, I can see in the chat that it's not always easy because maybe the broadcast or whatever is acting up a bit. So yeah, glad we can cover these races.
Well, Stewie, winner of race number 1 here at Oulton Park, continuing a streak of brilliant finishes. Could he potentially win it all at Laguna Seca? We'll see in 1 week's time. Congratulations, Stewie.
Thanks.
From race 1 winner to race 2 winner, we've got Jaroslav Roth. We call him Jersey around here. Jersey, you used the reverse grid after a frustrating race number 1 came to an end for you. You used the reverse grid, you drove away and never looked back. It looked treacherous for everybody out there except you. You look like you had it under control.
Well, thank you for thinking that, but I definitely didn't have it under control. I mean, I almost died like at least 10 times because adjusting to the conditions was just so hard because there was more rain every single lap. And I mean, the tires were getting cooked, so it was really less and less stable every single lap. So I think I'm a bit lucky that I survived. So yeah, but at least one win in this championship. I'm happy with that.
What inspired the livery, Jersey? I think we got to ask. We've been waiting for a long time. It seemed like there were a couple times where we thought you were going to win, and we were going to get to talk to you. What inspired the Meowsda and the Whiskers or Friskies livery on that car?
Oh, well, one version that I could tell you is that Viscas wrote me a message and that they want to sponsor me, but I think you wouldn't believe that. So, yeah, I'm a huge cat lover, so I wanted to live everywhere there is a cat, and this one just looked nice, so I took it.
There's a lot of great cars on the grid, but we love the Meowsda. We love that you took the time to change the name on the back of it to Meowsda. We have been referring to, I don't know if you've watched any of the streams back, but we refer to you and the car as the Meowsda car as well. But as I assume that's what you were going for. But you've finally you've broken through. You've got the win. Does that validate your season at all, or do you wish there was more?
I mean, I always aim to finish as high as I can, and before the start of this championship, I thought that I might be going for the overall win, which after this race seems unlikely because I think Stewie and Valik were up in the fight with me, but they both finished both races today, and I got killed in the first race. So I guess that's the championship over for me if anything like unexpected doesn't happen in the last race, because both of those drivers are at least same pace as me, sometimes even quicker. So yeah, at least I got the win and I'm happy with that.
I'm going to turn you over to my partner, Dan Van Zutphen.
Your partner doesn't have any questions. I was just about to
That's
ask
fine.
how do you feel about the championship, but that's just been answered. So, well, good luck to you, Rolf. Maybe something crazy will happen because this is the Mazda MX5 series after all.
Yeah, maybe like in those servers, grid is just amazing what can happen on the track and how many people can die. So maybe it's a bit of luck. Yeah.
Jersey, shout out the teams and the friends that help you along the way.
Well, I'm always racing on my Discord with Martin Lawrence, Bart Mattia, Peter Roche, Philip Brecha, and stuff like and people like that. So yeah, it's always a lot of fun. Sometimes even a lot of shouting. So yeah, I enjoy it.
Well, we enjoy having you out there. We enjoy having the Meowsda in victory lane. Jaroslav Roth wins it in race number 2 at Oulton Park. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, Dan, that's going to just about do it for us today. We had a dry race and a wet race, and it was calamity for a lot of drivers involved, a lot more multi-car incidents than I would have expected today. But in the end, 2 deserving winners and a championship that's looking like it's going down to the final couple of races.
It might be, you know, it might be a classic. It might be a 2021 F1. It might be decided into the last corner. We've had a photo finish in the first race. Who says we can't have a photo finish in the very last race? Maybe between championship contenders. You can dream. You're allowed to dream. Who knows? I'm just very excited for the final race in this championship. No one is going to know how that final race is going to go. I can't put a finger on who's going to win this championship. I can't put a finger on who's going to win in race 1 or race 2 at Laguna Seca. Everything can happen and nothing can happen at the same time. We'll just wait and see, Jesse.
Just a couple of things going on at RCI right now. The Saturday Night Owl Winter Break season will start in about a week or so's time. It's a 3-race series starting at Spa. They go to Snetterton and Indianapolis. That starts at about a weekend from now, so we'll call it about 10 days. That championship, actually no, not 10 days. It starts this weekend, in fact. That championship Winter Break Night Owl series for you here on Saturday Night Owl. As my broadcasters just reminded me, I got to say it right. I'm contractually obligated. Porsche Cup returns on Monday. The penultimate round there. Bathurst, we're taking the Porsche 992 Cup cars to the mountain. And that is going to be a very interesting race in what has been a championship dominated by the Czech driver, Martin Lawrence. We'll be back with you for the finale of Mazda MX5 Cup here at Laguna Seca next Wednesday. And until then, I've been Jesse Lee, joined by Dan Van Zutphen with Ash Bibby behind the cameras. Thank you all so very much for being with us and staying with us for our technical difficulties. We'll see you in 1 week's time. Thank you so much. And until then, have a good night.